We will miss your color. We will miss your curiosity. We will miss your children. Our children's children may never know you. Your strange striping, your towering physique, your shyness, and your humor. You will soon be gone, gone forever. For hundreds of species of animals, these ominous thoughts loom as a very real possibility in their future. A future threatened by the loss of fields and forests, unraveling the complex web of life by which we all survive. In order to stop the rapid disappearance of so many creatures, a group dedicated to their preservation and repopulation came into being. CRESS, the Center for Reproduction of Endangered Species. A caring team of scientists and research associates spawning new hope for vanishing wildlife, CRESS is already accomplishing breakthroughs for such rare creatures as the cheetah, the rhinoceros, and the Przewalski's wild horse. Thanks in part to the efforts of CRESS, the world watched as the first captive-bred California condor chick broke through its shell, and the Arabian oryx has been reintroduced into the wild. Along with these species are thousands of others that are threatened or endangered. Through the help of CRESS, these beautiful creatures may once again reproduce in the wild. But before that can happen, they need our help. The black rhinoceros once numbered as many as 60,000 in 1970. Now there are fewer than 3,200. More gazelles, less than 100 exist in captivity. None remain in the wild. The American bald eagle, our national emblem. Once they reigned the width and breadth of California in abundance. Now only about 70 pairs can be counted in the state. Time is running out for these and other species, and unless action is taken now, extensively and quickly, their thousands of years on this earth will vanish.
It's a privilege to be able to have a part to play in preserving an animal as magnificent as the Przewalski horse, or as a tapir, or as a gorilla or orangutan, or almost any of the species you can see here at the zoo. These are part of the treasure of biological resources of our planet, and they've been on the verge of extinction, and now they're coming back. And the most fantastic thing would be able to participate in seeing that they go back into nature. That's really one of the big goals.
Without zoos and without game preserves, certain animals will disappear. Because I believe in some years to come there really won't be wild animals. They will be managed in some way or other. I like to be part of that.
The world to me would be a very, very lonely place if we were the only species inhabiting it. And at the rate of extinction of species, which is about one a day right now, and by the year 2000 maybe one a minute, and those are rather accurate projections, we might be the last species, and indeed then we may ourselves be in jeopardy as our habitats become so imperiled by human activity.
We have a tremendous opportunity to allow people to see the diversity, the wonders of the different types of life that exist on this planet, and thereby we hope to let them come to appreciate this more and to participate more actively in saving the wildlife, saving the forms of plants and animals that are in danger on our planet.
Cheetahs are very sensitive animals. They're difficult to breed in captivity. We have approximately here set aside for the cheetahs. The reason that the breeding program is important to the cheetah population is cheetahs are an endangered species. They're very difficult to breed in captivity, and it's important to just keep the species going.
The cheetah is the world's fastest runner, able to reach speeds as high as 70 miles an hour. But ironically, it's almost been overtaken by extinction, a victim of poachers after its beautiful coat, and significant loss of its habitat to human civilization.
We've had one of the better success rates in the country. In captivity, as we're learning more about these animals, I think we'll be able to do a better job of reproducing them.
A pair of Chinese golden monkeys were loaned to the San Diego Zoo for a 5.5-month period beginning in November 1984. These animals were part of an exchange program with the Chengdu Zoo and had never before been exhibited outside of China. Their behavioral staff at the San Diego Zoo, with the help of Dr. Richard Tanaza from the University of the Pacific, took this rare opportunity to study the behavior of these unique primates. This videotape will show some of the most interesting behaviors that we observed during this study. Social grooming was frequently performed by these animals while they were on exhibit. Unlike most other primates, the female groomed the male during only about 20% of the total grooming sequences. Lip-smacking gestures were often made by the male during grooming. This is a behavior not usually observed in other langur species. The thumb of the golden monkey is quite small compared to the large forefinger used by the male to sort through his partner's fur during grooming. The female usually groomed the male only after he had mounted or groomed her first, although the duration of these grooming bouts were about the same as that of the males. In this feeding sequence, the pair is giving a duet call after the male attempts to grab some browse away from the female. The female just made a vocalization which appears to be an alarm call. This is the only call she makes that is always accompanied by an open mouth and some facial movement. The golden monkeys occasionally threaten visitors with stares and forward-leaning movements. These threat patterns are very similar to that of the Duke langurs of Vietnam.
It used to be that when people wanted another giraffe or another rhinoceros, they could simply go to the wild. They could buy them animal from an animal dealer who obtained it from the wild. Now that's no longer the case. In the last year, just the last year, half the rhinoceroses on the planet have disappeared. They're disappearing entirely. If they're going to persist, something is going to have to be done. Zoos for some of these species may be able to play a small role in preserving some species so that they can be reintroduced to habitats in the future. The Przewalski horse behind me here is an example. This is a species that's extinct in the wild. If this species is going to persist on our planet, we're going to have to breed it successfully, because all the Przewalski horses in the world come from only 13 animals that came from the wild. We have to be very careful about the breeding of these animals so that we don't get them unnecessarily inbred, and so that we avoid genetic diseases and factors like this. And this is true for many other species besides the Przewalski horse.
take care of their feet first and foremost. And captive elephants don't walk anywhere near as far as wild elephants, so they don't get the natural wear and tear on the feet. These are the nails of the elephant's rear feet, and the cuticles where the sweat glands are real important to keep them clean, not overgrown, and not dirty, and not rotten, of course. Keep the nails high and keep them flat, clean. And trimming off some of the excess pads, it gets a few holes in it, and it starts to get debris build up there, so we trim it down so it's nice and flat.
Efforts to breed the southern white rhino have produced history-making results.
If you look way out toward the middle of the enclosure, you'll see another southern white rhino out there with a little baby. He just turned 7 weeks old. He's a real feisty little guy, too. I've seen him out here chasing the zebra sometimes. And when the zebras chase back, he just runs back and gets mom.
The most prolific herd of white rhinos has helped remove these animals from the roster of endangered species.
Cheetahs are very sensitive animals. They're difficult to breed in captivity. We have approximately 12 acres here set aside for the cheetahs. The reason that the breeding program is important to the cheetah population is cheetahs are an endangered species. They're very difficult to breed in captivity, and it's important to just keep the species going.
The cheetah is the world's fastest runner, able to reach speeds as high as 70 miles an hour. But ironically, it's almost been overtaken by extinction, a victim of poachers after its beautiful coat, and significant loss of its habitat to human civilization.
We've had one of the better success rates in the country. In captivity, as we're learning more about these animals, I think we'll be able to do a better job of reproducing them.
Yeah, and then he didn't go because he had to come in here and do work. And then for cruise, when Joe was working with him. Yeah, actually, he's really good.
that's what we're here for, to make their day better. While we're here, we do the best we can to make it different and exciting and a nice place to be. What we've got here is holes drilled in the log, which they have to use their fingers or sticks to work on to get the sunflower seeds and raisins, which lengthens the time that it takes for them to eat their food. If they're eating, they're not bored. It's basically what these animals would be doing if they were in the wild, would be foraging, which is looking for food and eating. So this is just one way that we can come close to attempting to duplicate the situation as it would be for them if they were living in the wild.
Don't have much choice of warm places to go in case it gets cold during the night. And they're ready for bed.
They master an escape plan and they can get out, so we take them in the evening now.
We're outside the Southeast Asian Langur building, which is where we exhibit our langurs during the day. At night, which is what I do, a late lockup, is bring the animals in and have them eat their dinner, make sure they're okay, and lock them up, which is upstairs. And in the morning, if the other keeper comes in and lets them out during the day, into the exhibit where the people can also observe them.
Come on. We're inside the reptile house now. This gives you a look at the backs of the cages that the keepers work while the visitors are here seeing the zoo. The windows that the visitors look through are at the front of the cage, and the big double doors are at the back of the cage so that the keeper can reach in and work on these animals and do the things that he needs to do. The Fiji Island iguana is an endangered species, and we're very fortunate here at the zoo that we actually have bred them and raised up a couple of their young. We keep very accurate specimen histories on each one of our animals. Every animal has its own card where we keep a record of where it's at, what the temperature is in its cage, what kind of plants are in the cage, what kind of soil, what it's eating. Every 3 months we weigh these animals so that we can keep good track of what their weight is doing. If it starts losing weight, then we know that we need to either change its diet or the amount of diet it gets, or we need to consult a veterinarian. With reptiles, they don't show symptoms like mammals and birds do. They don't sneeze and get droopy-eyed and look sick. And so we have to use the weight to do that. with something dangerous, the trick is knowing what you're doing. If you're experienced and you've been taught properly, you're not taking any chances. For some reason, possibly unexplainable, I found these animals so interesting. Maybe because they were so unusual and because they were so misunderstood. And the more I studied them, the more fascinating and wonderful that I thought they were. And I've been working with them ever since.
When they were there.
My closest attachment has been with some of the gorillas and some of the orangs some time back. Alvila, the female that's over there now, I gave her first bottle back in the 60s when she was born. After she was born, I went over to the children's zoo that night, and they had a little bit of liquid that wanted me to get down her. And she started to go to sleep. I'd pinch her foot just a little bit. She'd wake up and take a couple of drinks and go to sleep, and I worked through the night that way. And by the time the children's zoo person come in the next morning, she'd taken her fluid. Well, I kind of feel close to Alvila. You know.
First one I saw when I started working here was his mother, and she was 2. I've waited 20 years for this. I think he's pretty good.
New arrivals are a major event at the zoo for the animals and people.
This is the first day for these Chinese bears to be on exhibit. Now, as you can see, they're very anxious to make their debut here at the San Diego Zoo. They've been in quarantine for the past month. So you kids get out there and knock them dead, okay? Taken about 4 years to get these bears here. Anytime you have a cub or new bears going on the exhibit, it is very exciting.
Whether they're new arrivals from afar or long-standing favorites, all bears are expert crowd pleasers.
And then he didn't go because he had to come in here and do work. And then for CRESS, when Joe was working with him. Kenny! Kenny! Whoa! Look at that stuff! 20.
Taken off, and it's almost planned. Their plants